kiln. And that's one of my left hand. And then I've got a little cupboard with lots of little things in that I've made that are waiting to go on a show in Germany. And then I've set up a box of treasures. So if you've had a look online, some of these will look a little bit familiar to you. And then here's some slightly larger pieces that I've just finished making. And then I'll just take you around to look at the kiln, because as you can see, this is a firing that's just finished. So this one here is going to be a lime to go with the lemon. And then there's various little mushrooms and pine cones and things in there. And then here are some pieces that have come out of the kiln. So when I make the work, it doesn't look really beautiful when I take the molds off the glass. So when the work's finished firing, you can see the glass is melted in, and then I need to excavate them, and it'll end up looking really dusty like this. And then it'll need to go through lots of stages to clean and polish it. And here's some of my raw material. So this is the yellow glass that I used to make the lemon with. Just pop that back for you. And I'll probably flip the camera around now. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions for me or not, or whether I should talk through how I actually make the work. That might be quite interesting, because everything involves 2 firings. And the first firing is I make a mold around the actual natural object, and then that will go in the kiln, and the heat from the kiln turns it to dust. And that means that, I'll just show you again. I'll get, so you're left something that looks like this. So often I write on the sides what things are, because it's hard to tell sometimes when they all look like that. So that's a conker in there. And then in the second firing, I balance just little garden plant pots on top, and I fill them with the raw material, and I pick whatever colour I want at this stage, and then I just balance it, the plant pots, over the moulds, and then I fill it with the glass. And then the glass, can you see in this one, it melts through the hole in the bottom, and that means that you don't get any air traps at all, so that the glass should flow into all the little spaces and just take up the exact shape that's left in the mould. But not everything goes to plan. So this is a mushroom that I made that I collected in the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, and I was trying a new glass from Germany, and you can see it's not quite got all the detail. And then this is a gold ruby. So glass is made different colours by different metal oxides, and pinks and reds are made using gold, so they're more expensive to buy. But there's can you see there? I think it's a little bit of the plant pot has dropped in. So sometimes things don't go to plan. So there's always about a 10% failure rate from every firing. And also I like to sort of push what the material can do. So I try and do really intricate, delicate things, because in real life, mushrooms don't last very long. And I like the idea of glass being able to sort of capture a moment in time and just hold their beauty for a long period of time. I'll take you over. So this, and sometimes I gild pieces as well. So this is 23.5 karat gold. So I quite like using very traditional techniques, but to make contemporary objects with. So this is an oak branch, and it's from a cliff at Sands End, which is just along the coast from Whitby. And I collected it early on in the year, And since then, that part of the cliff has actually had a landslide, so you can't walk there anymore. So that's sort of a little bit of history already, even though I made the mould this year earlier on. And then where I live, there's lots of old kitchen gardens with the original apple trees. So this is the time of year for collecting apples. So I've been scrumping. And then this one, I've actually got a rosebud from my garden. And I've just started sort of combining two things together. And I quite like that when you turn them upside down, it's like a little window that you can see in. I'll show you that on the lemon. Just being a larger piece, it's easier to see. So you can see like the underside of the pips and things. And I think I like to make work that goes in people's collections and works with other things. And this is the garlic. So I've done a lot of cooking in lockdown, so I got quite obsessed with using my local greengrocers, which is really old fashioned, but like looking at the shapes of things. So some things I'll buy to eat and some things will end up becoming work. And then some little pieces here that aren't finished. So look underneath, can you see it looks kind of frosted? That's because I've not finished polishing it yet. And then this little piece of asparagus as well. So I kind of like the idea of creating a window so that you can see inside. And then on the raspberry, you can see that it's hollow. I think that looks really interesting as well. Right, I'll flip the camera. So,
all beautiful pieces, Effie, absolutely stunning. We just got a question come in.
yeah.
How much, first of all, one was just stating that your studio looks very tidy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't always look like this.
A question that came in, how much of the work do you feel is historical preservation versus art?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I think it's a mixture of both. I think that I've always worked as an artist. So since I finished my degree, I set up my own studio and have had my own practice. And it's sort of always annoyed me, particularly at school, that art is seen as a separate thing, when quite often it combines geography and history and sometimes politics. So I think that it is that sort of preserving something for a moment in time. It is very interesting to me. And so, yeah, I think that it's very important to what I do, that it's not just about making something beautiful, although that is very important to me, but also the things that object connects you to as well. I think that's really interesting.
Brilliant, that is amazing. And what would you say is the most rewarding part of the process, the whole crafting process? Is it the end result, or is it just in the beginning when you're creating the idea, thinking about the idea? What would you say?
I think I really like that point when you get completely lost in the making of an object, because they take so long to make. I mean, each thing that I've shown you takes several weeks really, because of the 2 kiln firings, and I work very seasonally as well. So I find that if there've been high winds, that things get blown down that I couldn't maybe reach, and so I go out at very specific times to look for things. But the work is also about chance encounters as well. And once you start really looking at the natural world, not all acorns or pine cones are the same, and there's different points in the season where they make better casts and other times where they look more beautiful as a thing themselves. So you notice much more about nature and how it changes, and you realise how much you haven't noticed, prior to that.
That is true. That is true. I was curious about the lemon, and how would it look against the light, against the window? Yeah,
I'll show you, shall I? I'll just flip the camera. So I'll open We've got some real life Yorkshire sunshine today. So you see,
Yeah.
so all the work like really
Shines.
shifts depending on the light. So I like to make work, and when it's sunnier than this, it casts a really big lemon yellow sort of shadow. So it has a much bigger sort of presence. So although some of the pieces are very small and quiet, when the light, you can see on the little apple there, it's just getting quite a big shadow. So the light will suddenly shift, and it's like they've been spotlit, because glass as a material is greedy for the light. That's why fibre optic cable works. Just sucks up the light.
Yeah, they're very ethereal pieces because of the way the light affects them so much.
Yeah, and I think another thing about the process is that not many people have ever seen cast glass. People are much more familiar with stained glass or blown glass. So I think that often people can't imagine what the work can be made from, because some of the brighter colours almost look like jelly.
Yeah, they are very stunning. And how this sounds bad, but would you say, do you have a favorite piece?
Oh, do you know, that's a really, they're all my favourite. I'm really, really picky. I think what's hard when you're doing something like handmade is that you've got this group of lovely objects, but actually, like, I don't like so not everything I make works, even though I've got lots of experience. And then also I don't like everything that I make, and therefore maybe choose not to finish it off. And quite a lot of times I'll just put a hammer through it and remelt it, because glass can continue, because it can be recycled. It can have like lots of other lives. So that's sort of the privilege of working with it as well. So these pieces have like made the final cut, you know, but so I don't make a vast amount of work, and because I work seasonally, some things that work really well, I'll just have to wait till next year before I can make another one. But you know, that makes them special as well.
That's true, that is true. And so would you say the pieces themselves are largely reflected by nature, or just day-to-day life, your passions?
I think it I keep sort of hedging my bets on my answers, don't I? It is a mixture, but I'm increasingly much more interested in nature. I had a nature table as a child, which I absolutely loved, and then I think the whole process of lockdown and sort of walking outside, and those moments just seeming much more poignant and special. I've sort of made work that tries to capture that, and that we're surrounded by beautiful things all the time. We don't have to travel to a foreign country to experience sort of wonder and beauty. And so I like making work that kind of brings that into people's homes, that says this is like a magical thing, you know, and it's really nice to live with. So yeah.
That is true. We do have another question for you. Do all objects burn out easily, i.e. the lemon, and are there any other remains easy to remove from the mold?
Yeah, so lemons are quite well behaved, and so are limes, and you can smell the lemon as well when the kiln's on. It's got very sharp smell. So and then when I'm doing things like broccoli, like the studio smell like old school dinners. So everything like has like a different personality. What's tricky is things like twigs and pine cones. The woodier the thing is, the harder it can be to burn out. And some of the objects do have little bits of ash, which are the original thing sort of caught in the detail, but I quite like that, because it's like a memory of what it used to be. But it's the process, I call it burnout, some people call it lost organic casting. It is the closest you get to the fingerprint of nature, really. So for me, like, the making process is about capturing all that like exquisite surface texture, and then working with the gold leaf as well to highlight that, I think is really nice.
Wonderful. Can we just quickly, just for 10 or 20 seconds, get another look at your products, just because they're so beautiful?
Yes, I'll just flip the camera, hang on. Yeah, so I've started putting things in boxes, but and like when I've just finished off quite a lot of work, I'll just perch it everywhere. There's a mushroom that I did, and then I'll experiment with different ways to display them. And then I've started experimenting, casting some of the things in plaster and gilding them as well. So often I've got lots of bookshelves. I kind of quite like just incorporating things into that. And then I've got like lots of glass domes as well. So I kind of quite like changing installations of the work. And then I'll end with the box.
Beautiful. At least we could see how we could actually display them in our own house, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then and also because of the polished base, they've got that secret window, which I think is really nice when you own something that you can touch it.
Yeah, you can see, look into it and see all the details and things. That was a really great idea. Really beautiful products. Thank you everyone, and especially thank you Effie for joining us for this live session. Please do visit her shop. I've put a link in the box provided, so you can just click on there, or just simply head over to the Interact website, and then you can just search for Effie Burns and you'll be able to head over to her shop and have a look. So thank you again, Effie. That was a wonderful live session, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in the next live session. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.